Are you ready to meditate with Cory? Tonight is all about adventure. I have a very cool story to tell you, but you have to get comfortable in bed. Lay down and try and be very still, and listen very carefully. I have a friend. My friend is 25. He's called Harry. Harry was telling me a story the other day, and I was like, no way. No, that can't be true. What? Now get out of here. About everything that he was telling me. I couldn't believe it. It was a really cool story, and he told me that I can tell you guys. When Harry was 8 years old, he used to do something very special. Harry's full name was Harry Trotter. Yes, I know, that's what I thought. I kind of giggled when he told me. I was like, what? That's your real name? And he said, yes, my real name is Harry Trotter. Now, listen to this. Harry has a scar on his forehead. I was like, no. He has a scar on his forehead from when he fell off his bike when he was 3 years old. Harry wears glasses. He's had to wear glasses since he was 5 years old. So he's been wearing glasses quite a long time now. Remember, he's 25. When Harry was 8, he went to live with his auntie and his uncle. I know. I was like, no way. But this is true. He went to live with his auntie and his uncle. And he liked them, but it wasn't the bestest situation. But Harry made it so that it was the bestest situation. Now this is where it gets really, really cool. Harry had a den that his uncle helped him to build underneath the stairs. Yes. And inside of that den, it was actually a shoe cupboard where people keep their shoes and their coats and like the hoover, the vacuum cleaner, all things like that. His uncle and Harry cleaned it all out. They left things on the upper shelf, but they cleaned everything out. And his uncle let Harry move in a special chair. It was a really cool chair. It was one of those chairs that you can sit in, and it had a handle on the side of it. And when you pulled the handle, the back flipped back, and there was like a foot thing that flipped up so you could lay down like a lazy chair, like a lazy boy, if that's what they call them. The chair was super cool, and that's all he had in there. But this den was like his magical place. This den was what saved Harry. The new school that he went to, he had 1 or 2 friends, but not very many. Most of the kids at the school were kind of mean. Harry, being called Harry Trotter, and living in England was not a great name, let me share. Harry Trotter, well, for a start, I should explain. Trotters are known as pig's feet, right? So in England, people cook pig's feet and eat them. They buy them from the butchers and they eat them cold, and they like gnaw on them like pig's feet with the toenails still on and everything. It's really gross, but it's normal in England. And they call them pig's trotters. And Harry being called Harry Trotter meant that all the kids, whenever he walked by anybody or ever he talked to anybody, they would go, Harry, Harry. And he got it all day long. Poor Harry was constantly, everyone did it. And everyone thought it was really funny. Except Harry, of course. But you know, Harry was kind of a cool kid. He got used to everybody doing it. And he even got to the point where he just completely ignored them and didn't even hear them anymore. But still, that's the kind of stuff that Harry Trotter was dealing with when he was 8 years old. But what saved him was the chair in the den underneath the stairs. He would come home from school. He would have his dinner, do his homework, and then have a bath. They didn't have a shower in the house. They only had baths. He would have a bath, and then he would get out and he would put on his most favorite pajamas. They were stripy cotton pajamas that buttoned up the front, and they were getting pretty short. You could already see his ankles. But he loved them and he wore them all the time. And he had a very special dressing gown and slippers. The dressing gown and slippers were from some kind of yard sale. He doesn't even know where. But his granddad got them for him when he was 7, and he still wears them to this day. Well, when he was 8, that's what I mean. He still wore them, so he'd been wearing them for like over a year. And his dressing gown was burgundy, and it had a crest on the back, but he didn't know what the crest meant. But it was all gold, and it had a gold rope around the waist that tied. And his slippers were burgundy, and they had a gold crest on them. So he used to put his slippers on and his pajamas on and his dressing gown, and he would come downstairs and he would go inside of his den underneath the stairs and close the door. The first thing that would happen every single time was clink, clink, clank, clink, 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 clank, clink, clink, clank, clink, clink, clank, clank, which to anybody outside could sound very magical, but to Harry Trotter inside, it was just him banging his head on all his auntie's silver platters that she kept on the top shelf, and he banged his head on them every single time. But it could be part of the magic. He would sit down in his chair. Oh, I forgot to tell you, he always brought with him this like long, retractable, extendable stick. It was his granddad's. It looked like a wand. Yeah, I know. He sounds just like someone else. It looked like a wand, and it was very long, and he could like press buttons with it. His granddad used to use it way back in the day when TVs had to be turned over actually on the TV, and his granddad didn't want to get out of his chair, so he would use this long stick and he would poke the buttons from the sofa and press the buttons on the TV, and that's how he turned over the TV channels, because back then there was only like 3 or 4 channels on the TV, and that was it. I know, how weird is that? There were no remotes. There weren't like 200-300 channels on your TV like there is now. There was just 3 or 4 channels, and you had to get up, walk over, and press the button. Otherwise, it wouldn't turn over. So his granddad had this retractable, extendable stick, and he gave it to Harry. And Harry used to keep it with him, and he kept it in the den underneath the stairs. Harry used to use it like a wand. Let me explain. He used to sit on his seat. There was like a ritual that he did. He would pull the handle on the side of the chair, and then he would lay back, his feet would fly up, and he would close his eyes. That's when everything would change. By closing his eyes, in his mind, he was in a different world. He was escaping the school that was called Mogwarts School, by the way. I know, it's so crazy. And he escaped all the people that called him a pig's trotter. He escaped his reality and went somewhere else. Somewhere where there was always magic and adventure. The place where he would go had two-headed dragons. The place where he would go, he would fly. He could actually fly. He used to open his dressing gown and it would turn into like a cape, like wings. He would tie the gold rope around his forehead and it looked like a really cool headband. In the other world, he was a magician. He explored and got into all sorts of things. He would defeat the two-headed dragons. There were giant wolves / bears. They were crossed between like a bear and a wolf there, and he would fight them, and when he extended his extendable granddad finger thingy, they would go poof and just disappear into the air. It was like magic. If there was anything that was too scary there, he would just aim his wand and poof, it would go away. So he completely controlled everything with his mind. There he had so many friends. So many friends. And he always had fun, and they always laughed and joked. What was cool there was they had all these weird, unusual creatures, like there were frogs. But do you know how frogs eat flies? These frogs, when they ate a particular fly, if it was black and blue, it would make the frogs magically turn into bats. I mean, that's pretty cool. All the rivers were made of quicksand, but if you attached lily pad leaves to your feet, you could walk over the quicksand safely and not sink and get sucked in by the heavy, weighted down quicksand, where you would be lost forever. Harry always made sure he had his magical lily pad shoes. Everything was different. Everything was created from Harry Trotter's imagination. And he would go there every night. he'd do the same thing. He'd come home from school, he'd do his homework and have his dinner, have a bath, put on his favourite pyjamas, dressing gown and slippers, go downstairs, go inside of the shoe cupboard, which was his magical den, close the door, bang his head on his auntie's trays, sit down, flip it back, flip his feet up, close his eyes, and he'd be there all over again. One time he climbed a mountain that no ordinary person could climb. And how he did it was, he had these special flowers that he attached to his hands that were extra sticky and grippy, and he put them on his feet and his hands, and he stuck on the side of the mountain. Clip, 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 clip. Every time he pulled away, and then attached back on. Clip, 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 clip. It was genius. And he climbed the mountain, and it was a really big mountain, if you can imagine, just like Mount Everest. He would have some amazing adventures, and he would remember them all and write them down in a journal. Every single night, before he went to sleep, in his real bed upstairs, he would write everything down, all the different adventures with the two-headed dragons and the crazy wolf bears, all things like that. He would write them down so he would never ever forget. One day, Harry Trotter had to go to the doctor's, and the doctor was running late, and he was sat next to a very nice lady. He didn't know her name, can't even remember what she looked like, he said, but he remembers telling her about his journal and all of the magical adventures that he got up to in the world inside of his head, in the shoe cupboard, in his den, underneath the stairs. He told her everything. He told her about the crazy creatures. He told her about the lily pad shoes. He told her all of the different things. She was a very nice lady. And then he went in for his doctor's appointment, came out, lived and grew and got older, and now, like I said, he's 25 years old. When we were talking about his story, I said, you know, your story sounds very, very similar. Not in every detail, but very similar to another Harry I know. A very famous Harry. A very famous Harry created by a lady who wrote lots of books. I wonder, you know, if that lady you were talking to in the doctor's, way back then when you were 8 years old, I wonder if that was a very famous lady. We'll just never know, will we, Harry? And Harry said, nope, we'll never know. Now, how cool is that? All right, my little friend, it's time to go to sleep now. It's time to lay yourself down really, really comfy. So roll on your side, or roll on your back, or your tummy, whichever is your favorite place to sleep. Close your eyes if you haven't done so already. Let's see if we can go to dreamland and imagine a wonderful world with all these different unusual creatures, a place where you have magical powers and a magical wand. But first we have to relax enough, just enough to fall deep, deep to sleep. If you want to, you can imagine that you're laying in Harry's chair underneath the stairs in his magical room. It's very, very comfortable chair, soft and squidgy. And all of the cushiony parts are just in the right places. So your back is nice and supported, and your head is comfortable, and everything feels all warm and snug and floaty. See if you can imagine that. Your legs and your arms, your head and your body are all comfortable. Imagine that the more you relax, the quicker you're going to be in that magical world inside of your mind. A world where anything can exist. Anything that you want to create. It's your magical world. There you can have all of the friends that you could ever imagine. You could eat anything you wanted to eat. You could wear anything you wanted to wear. Just like Harry, you could wear your favorite pajamas all day long there in that magical world. You could have all of your favorite animals there. Puppies and kittens, giraffes, elephants, lions, whatever it is. They could all be there, and they could all be friendly and fun, and you could ride on the back of some of them and go on the bestest adventures ever. You could fly with a cape, just like Harry. Fly over the quicksand rivers, up over the mountains. You could go to the top of the mountain and make a snowball as big as your head and watch it roll all the way down and get bigger and bigger and bigger. It could rain there every day if you wanted it to, if you liked to dance and play and jump in the puddles. Or the whole place be made of like, I don't know. Let's think. What would you make the whole place out of? So that everywhere you looked, all you saw was there in this place in your imagination. You could even change what you looked like. You could shape-shift into different bodies and different people and experience what it feels like to be someone else. Can you imagine? You could be Santa Claus for the day. Delivering presents to all of the children. You could be someone like Mother Mary. You could be a famous poet or writer, just like, maybe the lady that Harry Trotter met in the doctors. You could be anybody you imagine. Your imagination is endless. As you sit in the chair underneath the stairs with your pointy, retractable stick. You could be an astronaut floating in outer space. Or you could be a giant marshmallow person. And your feet and your hands and your legs were made of marshmallows. That would be cool. You can be anything you want. Anything you desire. All you have to do is imagine. Relax and fall deeper and deeper into sweet, sweet dreams, my little friend. And I'll see you tomorrow